Hi everyone, it's Megan Wargula, author of the Riley Carson series, co-host of Dog Nerd Show, and all-around dog lover. So make sure you subscribe to this channel so you can see all my latest videos, and give me a comment below. Is there a dog that meant a lot to you? I would love to know about this dog, or any pet for that matter, in the comments. So today I'm going to talk about Sammy. Sammy was a family dog. He was a Yorkshire Terrier, and he was just a great little guy. He was just the greatest little dog. Very just easygoing, well-behaved, just a sweet, sweet, snuggly guy. And he and I became very close. So even though he was a family dog, we just connected, kind of like I do with most dogs. I love them so much. I think that's why he was drawn to me. I've got some funny stories about him. And in fact, one story, I went off to college and he was still at home. And honestly, I didn't come home from college a ton. So I didn't see him a lot during those 4 years. Then I came home after college and was living there for, maybe 4 to 6 months. Maybe it was about 6 months. And then had the opportunity to move to London for 6 months, and went off to London, lived there for 6 months, had a great time. When I came back from London, I had my suitcase out on the floor and all my stuff, and I was talking to my sister, and Sammy was in there with us, and that little dog walked over and raised his leg and peed on me. I was sitting on the floor, and thankfully he missed my knee and kind of got the carpet instead. But my sister and I laughed about it because it was like he was marking his territory. Like, you are mine and you're not leaving again. And we were just super duper close. He was just a sweet dog. I mean, I really don't, there's nothing, other than just him being a great companion. When I was studying, I went back to school for graphic design. And when I was studying, obviously art classes, you have to do painting and drawing and things like that. So I worked during the day, went to school, and then I would work on my projects pretty late at night. And I was living at home with my parents, and I had set up my drawing table in their formal living room. Of course, the room that nobody uses. And he would come in there and sit with me all night long. I mean, sometimes I'd be up until 1 a.m. working. And that little guy would curl up on the rug, and he would just sit there all night long as I painted or drew or whatever it was that I was working on. So he was a sweetheart. And he actually is the one story, and this is spoiler alert, the first chapter of the first book. He actually passed in my arms, and it's weird. I didn't think I would get emotional talking about it again. I got emotional writing about it. And then when you write about it and you're editing and you read it over and over again, you get emotional. Because for a long time, I would get emotional every time I spoke of it. And it was one of those scenarios where he hadn't been doing well. And my sister had him at the emergency specialist vet, and they had said, we're just keeping him comfortable. And my parents were out of town at a conference, and, my sister didn't know what to do. So she said, well, we're just going to bring him home, because he had been at this vet's office for several days, and we didn't understand what that meant. We're just keeping him comfortable. So he was at the end of his life. So she brought him home and called me from work. And my other sister was home before she went to work to say her goodbye. And I got there, and Sammy was on the floor in the sunroom, which was his favorite room. And the light was shining in from outside. So we had him in the sun because they said, we're keeping him warm and we're keeping him comfortable. So I came in, my oldest sister left, and my middle sister was like, we got to figure out what to do. We need to see if the vet can come here to put him to sleep. Like, I'm calling mom and dad. I don't know what to do. And when I came in, he didn't even respond. And normally, when I came in the room, it was like, there was some kind of happy reaction. He didn't respond at all. He just was there on his little blanket on the floor. in the sun. So I thought, well, let me pick him up, and I laid him on my chest, and we sat in a chair that kind of reclined a little bit, and I covered him in his favorite blanket. It was an alpaca blanket that one of my sister's friends had gotten from Peru, and he loved that blanket. So I laid there and I covered him in it, and I was petting his little head and telling him that I love him, and he started to kind of pant with his mouth open, and then I felt his bladder release on me. And it was quite an awful moment. My sister is so wonderful. She does so good in times of crisis like that. She got me towels, and she called the vet, and they said bring him up, but he had passed, and I had freaked out. I cried and cried and screamed and cried, and I wish now that I hadn't, because I feel like he waited for me and he chose to be with me, which I think now is quite an honor. But I reacted a little. I wish I had been a little calmer, because he had just passed, and I'm sorry for getting so emotional. I did not think this was going to happen. So anyway, we took him to the vet, and he had indeed passed. And Courtney decided, since it really was her dog, even though it was a family dog, that she didn't want him cremated. She wanted to bury him in the yard. And my husband, who was my boyfriend at the time, was kind enough to come over and dig us a hole. We live in Georgia. The soil can be very hard. Red clay, rocks. And so he came over from not close by. If you know anything about Atlanta, he was on the south side. We were on the north side. And traffic is abysmal here. So he came up and he dug a hole and helped us bury Sammy. And that was such a poignant experience for me that I actually wrote it into the first chapter of the book. And I had to honor that moment. And it's interesting, through writing these books, you realize that you have a lot of experiences that maybe at the time are very difficult. And then you realize that I can use this in my writing. I can use the feelings that I had, or use the story, or, whether good or bad. So I thought, well, what better way to honor Sammy than to write this scene in. And I know it's a sad one, but it's, it says in the blurb that, after losing her beloved dog, Riley Carson, blah, blah, blah. So, before you get the book that this happens. But he was just a great little dog, just so sweet and such a good little soul. So I was very fortunate that he waited till I got home from work, and that he chose to pass in my arms. And it's interesting, he passed after Courtney left the room, so it was just he and I. So I think that that meant something to me. So cherish your dogs, love your dogs. We're very fortunate that Sammy lived to be 15. It's such an honor to be able to care for these dogs and to see them through till their senior years. So yeah, that's the Sammy story. Sorry that I got all weepy. I did not think that was going to happen. I didn't even really think I was going to share that story. I just thought I was going to talk about Sammy, but yeah. So you can see I have a deep love for dogs. This happened 16 years ago, and obviously I still get emotional about it. But they're wonderful creatures. And I hope that if a dog is right for you, that you watch some of the Dog Nerd Show videos about the breeds, you learn about the mistakes that we've made, that we wish we had done things a little differently in raising our own dogs. So we're here to educate and help people make good decisions about dogs and pets in general. So thank you so much for watching this. If you've had an experience like this, I would love to hear about it in the comments. I think it really is an honor when a dog chooses to be with you at that moment. And I've come to learn how it maybe wasn't such a bad thing after all. But until next time, guys, enjoy life's adventures and be kind to all creatures. Thanks for watching.